Today's story goes all the way back to sometime in 1997. That's when I bought a used Intel Venus motherboard to make a Pentium Pro system. That system had a 150 megahertz processor in it that I overclocked all the way to 166 megahertz. That processor and motherboard, paired with the Canopus Pure 3D that I had, and wish that I still had, enabled me to get better frame rates in Quake than any of my friends. That motherboard was pretty similar to the one in this Micron Client Pro PC, except the one that I had USB ports. Now, at one point I did try to get that working with a USB scanner, and I never got it to work. I don't know if the problem was the version of the USB implementation in the chipset or the version of Windows 95 that I was using. I don't know. I never solved that problem. That computer started a fascination that I still have with the Pentium Pro. The huge socket, the multi-chip module, it's just, well, weird. And it is, without any doubt, my favorite x86 processor of all time. In one of the hallways where I work, there is a prototype quad Pentium Pro motherboard hanging on the wall, and I stop and ogle that thing every time I walk down that particular hallway. Even after I upgraded that computer off my desktop, I kept it around. I used it as my home server for several years, and it worked really well as a dedicated game server at my LAN parties well on into the Quake 3 era. Now, last week, I saw an ad on Facebook Marketplace of a guy who was looking for someone to work with him to melt down a bunch of old computer chips to reclaim the gold. Now, the price of gold has just gone through the stratosphere over the last year, so this kind of thing is becoming more and more common. In that lot, there was a whopping 18 Pentium Pro processors, including 3 of the 1 megabyte cache 200 megahertz CPUs. Now, I don't have any of those in my collection, so even regardless of that, I knew I needed to do something. I felt compelled to try to save those processors from a fiery grave. So in the ad, he had listed how much he had been offered by a smelter for the entire lot, and he had the approximate weight listed. And so I did some math and figured out what they would give him basically for each Pentium Pro. And I made him somewhat of an unusual offer. If he was willing to meet me at some public place so that I could test the CPUs, I would give him somewhere between the price that he would get just for that CPU being smelted down and the eBay price for any and all working CPUs. After a little bit of negotiation, he agreed to meet at a local park on Sunday afternoon, and we would get together and test out all the CPUs. A friend of mine did advise to make sure that we don't look like we're doing some kind of a weird drug deal or something. So here's the setup. I have a power inverter over here that will power the computer. It has a video card, a post analyzer. I have a little tripod there that the camera will be on. And I have a tiny monitor that will actually be powered by a really hard to see back there battery, just to keep the load on the inverter and on the car's battery a little bit lower. But this should do it. The card is the only PCI card that I have that has DVI out, so I'm doing DVI to HDMI there, and hopefully this will just work out fine. We spent around 90 minutes, the two of us, using mechanical pencils to try to straighten out all of the pins on all those CPUs that have basically just been stored in a shoebox for 15 or 20 years or whatever. And amazingly, out of the 18 CPUs, there was only one that we were not able to resuscitate. One of the pins in the corner of it was folded all the way over, and I could tell that the pad that connects the pin to the internal trace was mostly detached, and so I didn't even bother trying to straighten that one out, because I figured it, as bent as it was, if I tried to bend it back, it was just going to snap off, and that would be no good. Unfortunately, I forgot to get a picture of that. So we managed to straighten out all the pins on 17 of the processors. And out of those 17, all of them worked. All of them worked. The universe did decide to call my bluff, and I did not buy all 17 processors. I did, however, of course, buy the 3 1 megabyte cache processors. I also bought 4 180 megahertz CPUs and 2 150 megahertz CPUs. There was just, I just was not going to lay out all the cash to to buy all 17. Now, sadly, there wasn't a 166 megahertz processor in the lot, so my collection is still missing that one very rare CPU. I mostly bought the 180 megahertz and the 150 megahertz CPUs because I have a couple of motherboards that I acquired last summer that don't have any CPUs in them, and I need to put some CPUs in them so that I can sell them off. Now, the reason that those motherboards don't have any CPUs in them is because they had Pentium 2 overdrive CPUs, and I am keeping those. So now, with the addition of the Pentium overdrives and the 1 megabyte cache CPUs, I have access to every cache configuration and every speed grade of socket 8 processors in matched pairs. So at some point in the future, hopefully this year, I do not have an ETA, I want to do a dual processor battle royale shootout between every possible combination. I want to test games, I want to test applications and compilers and everything that I want to just throw the kitchen sink at it and see how much clock speed versus amount of cache actually makes a difference on these CPUs. If you are interested in eventually seeing that video, I highly recommend that you subscribe to the channel. Now, the only thing that is missing from the possible set of things that I could test is the ultra rare socket 8 to slot 1 adapter boards. They actually made adapters so that you could put a Pentium Pro processor in a 440LX, the very early Pentium 2 chipset motherboard. I suspect that I will never see one of those in real life. It would likely take someone like the guy at Bits und Bolts to create a new one using modern techniques. He's already making modern socket 370 to slot 1 adapters, so I suppose anything is possible, but I am not holding my breath while I wait for it. I am just about done with the last of the Amiga 500 processor accelerator videos. I just haven't had the time to be able to do the final steps in that video. It is coming. I have some time off in early July, so I'm really hoping that I will be able to wrap it up then. It will hopefully not take another 8 weeks. I am very sorry for the long hiatus. Just life has kind of gotten in the way of having fun. If you are looking forward to that video, I would also recommend that you subscribe to the channel, and I would really appreciate if you click the like button for this video. It really does help the channel out. So until next time, try to remember the good stuff.